Okay, well, look, folks, Crystal, you're on board, are you? Ready to take minutes?
I'm here and I'm ready to take minutes.
Okay, all right. I think we'll call the meeting to order. 3 after 6. Just want to remind everybody that the meeting is being recorded. I'm going to go through this at the start of every meeting just to make sure that everybody's aware that we're doing it. Remember to mute yourself during the meeting and try to remember to unmute yourself when you have important things to tell us. Really encourage everybody to speak up and say something. So despite having troubles connecting last time, I hope everyone will be brave and try it again this time in terms of contributing to the meeting. So first off, I'd like to ask for approval of the agenda. So you've seen that, it's been distributed in advance. Can I have a motion as suggested by staff that the agenda for July 14, that's today, for the Electoral D Service and Boundary Configuration Committee be approved? Someone like to make that? Okay, I've got Phyllis on first, Bob on second. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, that motion's carried. Next, we've got receipt of minutes for last meeting. And I want to be clear here, I haven't actually been able to see the minutes for the open session. So I'm not sure if the others have received those minutes. I know we have the in-camera session minutes, which we'll come to in a minute. Mylene, did you see them?
They're below the agenda.
Okay, well, at this point, so if everybody's looked at them, then that's fine. So we've got a recommendation here from staff that the minutes of the June 29 Electoral D Service and Boundary Configuration Committee be received. Someone like to make that for us? Okay, I've got Bob on first, David on second. Any discussion of the minutes? Other than the fact that your chairman is blind? Okay, I'll call the question then. All those in favor of the minutes for the open session? Okay. Any opposed? Seeing none. Okay, those are carried. Kurt, looks like, is joining us. Kurt, oh, there we are. Okay, Kurt, you haven't missed too much, I don't think. We've just adopted the agenda and received the minutes for the open portion of the meeting. And we're just going to adopt the, or actually we're going to go into a closed session for a minute here to look at.
Hi, Matt. Sorry, it's
minutes.
Crystal. Can we just confirm that Vi is on the line? I have a call-in user and I just wanted to make sure that is her.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfect.
It is me.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, Matt. I wanted to make sure who it was.
Okay, so it is Vi?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Okay, so in order to address the minutes of the in-camera session last time, we have to again I'm not sure how that happened, folks. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So, did you hear the spiel about us? No. All right, I'll read that again. In accordance with Section 901 of the Community Charter, we're looking for a motion to close the meeting to the public on the basis of information that's prohibited from the disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Okay, and that's just the minutes for the closed session. Can I have a motion to that effect? Okay, I've got Phyllis and I've got Kay on second. Okay, so we're just going to wait a minute while Crystal gets the motion, sorry, gets the meeting unrecorded. Let us know when you're ready, Crystal.
I'm ready now.
Okay, so is there any discussion of the minutes for that closed section? Okay, seeing none. Wait a minute now. No. So I just have to back up here. This was, first off, just a motion to go into a closed session. So there's no discussion on that. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
In favor.
Okay. Anyone opposed?
We're good
Tell
to
me
go
when you're
now.
ready. Good to go? Okay. So our next item is budget, and a document was shared. I believe it was prepared by Jim.
Yes,
Outlining Area D services and boundary configuration study costs, looking at contributions from the province as well as RDOS, and looking at total costs out both to the consultant as well to other direct items that RDOS might be paying for itself relative to this study. So Jim, I'm going to ask you to walk us through this, please.
yes, I will. So as you can see, I have split it up into 2 years because there is no possibility that this could all happen in 2021. The $80,000 is the budget that the provincial government allocated to us, and based on the workload and percentage of costs, so we believe that will happen in 2021. We're looking at 58,920. Before I go any further, I do want to just state that any funds that are not expended in 2021 will be moved over to 2022, and that $37,000 deficit in 2022 will be reduced by whatever was saved in 2021. The internal costs that you see underneath there, it starts off with the mailouts. So that's a worst case scenario because we are looking at seeing if we can get a lower cost or even free. So that $6,420 total between the 2 years, we're hoping to reduce that. The consultant contract, that's straightforward at $90,000, $45,000 each. And again, if it's reduced or less than the 45,000, that's one of the few budget items that will be completely moved over. It's not a saved because the total contract is $90,000. The electronic meetings, what we're having right now, you'll only see it in 2021 because we're hoping that the COVID pandemic is over, and in 2022 we can actually have live meetings, and that's why you'll see 0 for the 2022. The in-person meeting expenses, so we're also hoping that the in-person meetings are going to start this year, and that we can have there'll be some expenses, meals, etc., whatever else is incurred if we have to have rental. And again, we're hoping that if we don't, that these costs will be reduced. Advertising is self-explanatory. There's going to be some advertising for what is going to be happening this year and next year. That contingency, that's in all areas. Hopefully we don't need it, but it's nice to have the money there and not having to go back to looking for more. And the same miscellaneous, same thing. It's a type of contingency, but it's there. And meeting expenses, that we don't know exactly what the meeting expenses will be, but we're hoping between the WebEx meetings and the live meetings, we did put in the budget. And then there's also the RDOS staff expenses. So expenses, for instance, for me, there is no expense on the management side in Christie, but there are some expenses that will be, and that's only for, we're talking about after 4:30. There's no charges for us. But during the day, if there's any work done by staff regarding this committee and the governance study in general, that has to be charged as per the regional district policies, where the service that incurs the expense also has to pay for the expense. And that way you don't get other electoral areas or municipalities paying for this, and it's transparent and we're not going to get complaints. So that, as you can see, the expense for 2021 is estimated at 58,920, which is balances to what we're looking at for the funding. So 2021 is not the budget is not affected at all. So there's Director Obrick will retain all his funds for 2021. 2022 may be different. What I would call this is a worst case scenario, where again, if we're under budget in any way, that will reduce the budget for 2022 and ultimately reduce the deficit. Now, one area that we cannot change is the consultant contract. It is $90,000. So again, best case scenario would be that in 2022 there would be a net extra funding required of 10,000. That would be the best case scenario, and the worst case scenario is 37,735. So that's how the budget is made up. The board did see this as part of the report that Christy put in. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Okay, I just want to rehash, I think, the point you made at the end there. This was part of what the RDOS board approved. Is that correct, Jim?
The board approved, I believe, Christie's recommendation for the contract, but this was part of the board report that they saw. They didn't specifically say yes to the budget, but they said yes to the recommendation on the consultant.
And our director's seen it as well?
I discussed that with him today. He wasn't at the board meeting last meeting.
Okay, Kay, we've got a question.
So how is this deficit going to be made up? I understand you're saying that there's hopefully going to be some carryover from 21 into 22, but it still sounds like there's going to be a shortfall. So is this going to be a line item for the budget for 2022 that you're in the process of making up?
Right.
Go ahead, Jim.
So the director has a line item called contingency under the rural projects. So right now for 2021, there's a $55,000 contingency. So if he does not use that money, it would normally go into reserves. And then if there's some unexplained or unanticipated expense, he would be able to draw from that and add a line item for that. So originally, before I split it up into 2 years, that was the original recommendation, is that the surplus be funded directly from that 55,000. Now he doesn't have, for 2021, he doesn't have to, and he'll be taking a look at the expenses at the end of 2021 and see how much of that $55,000 contingency, and it is a contingency. As of this moment, the word contingency is exactly what that means. There's no specific need for it or request for it. So the money would be there.
Thanks, Jim. Any other comments or questions? I think both Christy and I are speaking to Canada Post in order to get a reduced rate. I can't remember the exact amount. We were able to do it for the economic development brochure. I think it's 16 cents an item. That number sticks in my head. But anyway, if we can get it reduced to that number, that would be a significant reduction. Okay, Phyllis, you've got a question.
So last meeting we talked about there was going to be conversation with Crystal and the consultant to see whether or not if there was some duplication of cost, that they would be able to somehow, you know, find a savings there. And so I understand that we still, you know, we have budgeted that 90,000 or set aside that $90,000, but have we got any update on that conversation?
Jim, is this back to you or?
Crystal may have something I don't, but one of the things that I would expect is while the consultant is doing his work, we should be able to determine if there is a duplication. And one method of reducing the budget is if we see a duplication, we would just reduce our own internal budget. So that's something that I would be keeping a close eye on. And I'm sure that so would Christy. But for that specific question, I can't answer that.
Okay.
Anyone else? Comments, concerns? Okay. Do we want to leave it there and move on to our logo, or do you have further comments or concerns, questions regarding budget? I'm about to move on. Okay. Let's move over to logo and branding. Couple of logos were circulated. Blue circle, 3 individuals holding pieces of a puzzle. Let's see now. The primary difference between the 2 of them, I believe, was one has the word study after it and the other does not. Mylene, maybe you want to speak to these?
It would be my opinion. Hold on. How's that now? Can you hear
Perfect.
me okay?
Perfect.
It would be my opinion that the first logo, sample 1, with study included in the name, be included in the logo, as this logo is for a said study. And the mention of putting in a schematic or a map, you need to keep in mind that this is going to be very small. A logo should be something that's just a symbol. If you think Apple or Nike, it's just an image, a small image that's beside the name or beside something. So if you were to look at the sample ad of the study from May 2016, you can see beside the actual article content, it's a very small logo, it's thumbnail size. And then in the ad space of that proof is a 1/6 page. And I believe we were doing a quarter page to get, you know, spread out the content and make it a little bit larger and a little bit better visibility. And even in that quarter page, that logo is small. So I don't know if anybody has any comments regarding that, but it would be my suggestion to go with the first option where study is included in the name. That's about all I have to say.
Okay, good points. Thank you. And I think the example of the article with the logo, the size that it's going to be used helps make your point, Mylene. Okay. So is there anyone who's strongly married to the word or strongly opposed to having the word study included on the ring? Okay. Generally speaking, anybody have any concerns with going with this 3 individuals with the pieces of the puzzle and the words Electoral Area D Service and Boundary Configuration Study 2021, 2022? Any concerns at all with that? Because it's about to become our logo. Okay. We're operating on a consensus basis, so I'll take that as consensus to proceed. Kurt, I don't have you visual, but I'm presuming you would be pounding the table visually or speaking up. You had a concern? Okay,
No, that's fine.
you're good? All right. Okay.
And I'm okay with it also, yeah.
Okay, I think that's Vi jumping in there.
Yep, I'm okay with it, yeah.
Good. Okay, so we're all on board with that. Really, the only other item on this agenda is just when the next meeting is, and it's July 28th. And at that point, we will have the consultant walking us through his work plan and his timelines, method of, method of operations, like how he wants to work, how he wants to work with us, etc. So that's the big focus of that session there. Okay. Any other items that you would like to see on the agenda at that point? No? Okay, we're running out of runway here. I don't want to take us off on sort of wild tangent, but is there any other item that somebody wants to raise before we close the meeting? Phyllis?
Just had a question as if we have an agenda item or something that we think might be on the agenda, when do we need to have that to you by?
Best to send it in to Crystal. Let's see, a week before that meeting, July 28th. Should have it in next week sometime.
Yeah.
Crystal, are you
Thank
still
you.
online?
Yes, I'm still here. Yeah, as long as I have it by the Wednesday, because I'm trying to send the agendas out to you guys on the Friday. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Great, thank you.
But that said, in discussion with Christy, I think the plan was to devote most of this to the consultant and let him walk us through it. Gives us a chance to, really ask our questions of him. What are you planning here? What are you planning there? For instance, the 2 panel discussions with representatives from, say, Columbia Shoe Swap and the Blind Bay group. How was he proposing to do that? That kind of thing. All right. So, okay, folks. Are there any other quick questions before before I ask for a meeting motion to adjourn? Okay, that's quick. We're done. This will probably be one of the last of the easy meetings. Okay. Thanks. I wish you all well, and hope the fires stay far from your homes. Good night, folks. Oh, actually, I need a motion to adjourn. Got a motion from Phyllis, seconded by Kay. Yeah, thanks, Kay. I'll take that. All right, this meeting's closed. Thank you, folks.
Okay, good night, goodbye.
Night.